Imagine the following. You're killing monsters. You're having fun with your friends in your favorite game. You're clearing dungeons, collecting loot. And then the unexpected happens. A girl says, "Take me as your wife." How would you feel about that? It's an interesting situation, isn't it? A beautiful girl is madly in love with you and only wants to be your wife. But you have to say no. How can that be? Meet our boy, Hideki Nishimura. Nishimura is a high school student who considers himself an otaku and spends most of his time playing video games. In real life, he has a few friends who also like games and anime. The girls in his class despise him and think he's a weirdo and a loser. He doesn't mind talking to them, but the girls ignore him. But that doesn't depress our hero. He finds comfort and camaraderie in his online gaming community, where he is known under the game alias Rujin and acts as a steadfast tank knight. Together with his loyal comrades, the damage-dealing swordsman Schwein, the powerful mage Apricot, and the mage healer Akko, Nishimura's guild forms a formidable team. And who proposed to our hero? It was the beautiful lady Akko, but why did our hero turn her down? This question interests not only us, but also the members of the guild. In the end, Nishimura revealed his secret. A long time ago, when Nishimura was still a nub, he proposed to a cat girl named Nekoheim, who often liked to say meow. But she turned him down because she admitted that in real life, she was a man and not exactly young. So a grown man plays as a cute little cat. She's not interested in relationships in the game. What a shock. Nishimura's heart was broken because he didn't know at the time that a man could play a female character. And since then, he no longer believes in love stories in the game. But persistent AKU, such a refusal did not stop. She repeated and repeated that they should become husband and wife. Eventually, Rujin gave in and gave AKU a magic ring. He decided that a game is just a game, and even if a man plays a female character, there is nothing wrong with it. The main thing is not to take it seriously. The story of Nishimura's failed romance not only amused the guild members, but also inspired them. They decided that they should definitely meet in real life. And the guild leader announces the first meeting to get to know each other better. It's X Day. Our hero Nishimura is very nervous. After all, he's afraid that his gamer wife will turn out to be a guy. But he's sure that the other members of the guild are guys. But what surprises him is that they all live nearby and have been playing Age of Legends together for a year. They have been hiding their identities, and so they didn't know this information about each other. Akko is the first to show up. A shy, self-conscious girl. Nishimura is shocked. Akko is very pretty, a brunette with blue eyes. She's immediately happy to meet her, immediately hugs Nishimura and repeats, "A real Russian." Exactly, a real Russian. Strange? But that's how she sees the world. There's no difference between the game and reality for her. Akane's classmate came up next. A beautiful blonde. She doesn't act like that at school. She always said that Nishimura should stay away from her, but life gave her a surprise. She never expected to see him, and it turned out they were close friends and having fun together in the game. The student council president Kyo Goshoin approached them next, the head of their guild, nicknamed Apricot, a beautiful girl with purple hair and yellow eyes. She's friendly, cheerful, and full of confidence. And now that everyone's here, it's time to get to know each other better. They went to a cafe and each started telling their story about why they spend more time in the game and not making friends in life. And it turns out they have very similar stories. AKO is a loner who doesn't like going to school and socializing with her classmates. She doesn't like to study. She likes playing games, and if she could, she would like to be transported to the gaming world forever. Akane lives a double life. On the one hand, she is a strict girl who watches her reputation and has no interest in anime and games. But in fact, she loves playing games, hides it carefully, and has never told anyone about her hobby. Her nickname in the game is Schwein. As it turns out from the translation from German, it is pig. This was told to her by her new friends. She didn't know it, as she chose the nickname by the sound of it. But that didn't bother her, for she was proud, and to her, pigs were the ones who would call her that, and most likely she would just roast them. Head of the Apricot Guild. She had told her friends before that she was a real girl, a high school student, but no one believed her, since she donates a lot to the game, and her friends didn't think a high school girl could have money for it. Especially donators are not liked, but it does not embarrass her, because she is the strongest magician and the main destroyer of monsters. She comes from a wealthy family, but donates to the game from her own money, which she earns herself. The game is her favorite hobby. Despite the fact that she is successful in school, she has almost no friends, and the only people close to her are her guild in the game. And our guy Nishimura is just as much of a loner who loves gaming more than anything else. Now he has no idea how to act. Turns out his guild is made up of beauties, and they're his closest friends. And when they play together, now all the characters are displayed as they look in real life. But he's especially confused by the attitude of Ako, who now clearly wasn't fooling him. She's a nice girl, and madly in love with him, and considers herself his wife not only in the game, but also in real life. After all, she doesn't distinguish between Nishimura and the game character Rujin. What a gift he got! After getting to know each other, the boys continue to play and have fun. But not everything goes so well. Ako doesn't understand the difference between play and reality, if the other guys have made up game nicknames for themselves. Our princess, Ako Tamaki, called herself Ako in the game. She's been acting out at school. She's always picking on Nishimura, which is very embarrassing for him. She also hangs out with Akane, who is Nishimura's classmate and playmate. This embarrasses Akane, as she carefully hides the fact that she knows and socializes with Nishimura, as well as her hobby of playing games. But Ako doesn't realize this, because for her, there is no difference between her friendship in the game and at school, no difference between her love for the character Rujin and Nishimura. And that creates some problems. At first, the guys tried to explain it to her. They said she was being frivolous. They asked simple questions. For example, what would she spend her money on in the game? Ako thinks it's important to have nice clothes and shiny weapons. This made the guys laugh. She's a healer mage, so she needs more protection so she can help the team longer. And this example proves that she is very light-hearted, and in the understanding of the game, she is a nub. But overall, these questions didn't help. Normal life seems faded and uninteresting to her, and people who don't play games are very boring. Ako is glad her friends aren't like that, and wishes they could fight the ordinariness of life together. Kyo comes up with a plan to help Ako. Using her position as student council president, she organized a game club right in the school. There, they could play together after school, spending more time together. But she also wanted to help Ako feel the difference between gaming and reality. At first, Akane had resented it. She wanted games to be just a hobby, but Kyo realized that Akane wanted the same thing as everyone else, to play together and have a good time. And then Nishimura pointed out that computers were very powerful, they were made for gaming, hinting at the wonderful prospects. And Akane finally gave in. It was very tempting to play with her friends on the new computer. Ako still came to Nishimura's house in the mornings and pampered him with hugs, and after school, they would play together as a guild. They started taking on more challenging tasks, because when they were around each other, it was easier to help each other. Ako especially needed help because she was playing for fun and didn't really understand the gameplay. Besides, she had Rujin, who would always help and rescue her. What more could a girl want? After the game, Nishimura walked AKU home and explained the difference between the game and reality, that they should behave differently. In Legendary Age, they are heroes, husband and wife, but in real life, they are classmates and should behave normally like school children. So one day during such a conversation, Akko felt something changed in his voice. She said that Rujin is communicating with some girl, and that girl is infecting him with harmful thoughts. And you know what? She's right. Rujin met an old acquaintance of ours, a cat girl in the game, under the nickname Harem, even though he's a grown man in real life. Rujin decided to get advice on what to do with AKA, and the advice was simple. Be honest, support her, and of course talk to her more. But it's not that simple with our AKA when the boys were discussing a problem that had arisen in their club, namely that without a mentor teacher, the club would be closed. It's sad, of course, but Nishimura said that the club isn't fulfilling its purpose, to make Akko feel the difference between the game and reality. On the contrary, it further blurs the line between the two. And then the guys notice that Akko isn't in the club and wasn't at school today. That's strange. But Akko came to the game from home and said that she was fine, that she had arranged a meeting with a guy from the game and asked if everything was okay with Rujin. Would she be allowed to do that? He replied that of course it was okay with Rujin because the game and life are different. And she could date whoever she wanted. But suddenly, he felt an attack of jealousy, especially as the girl started explaining to him that he was responsible for her. Would he let Akko date a stranger? What if he hurt or harmed her? Wouldn't he be willing to sacrifice his principles for his wife in the game and his friend in reality? Eventually, he came to terms with his fears and ran to AKA. But what kind of meeting was that? You won't believe this. Our sweet AKA came up with a cunning plan. She invited Nekoheim the cat girl to the meeting and threatened her to stay away from Rujin. But the most surprising thing is that Nekoheim isn't human. It's their teacher, Yui Saito. That's an interesting situation, isn't it? But that didn't stop Akko from attacking Yui Saito. But our teacher turned out to be a fighter, and in life. She managed to stun her for a while, so our cutie would calm down. That's what happens. You play a game, fall in love with a character, and on the other side of the screen sits your teacher. But now the club has a solution. They have a mentor. Yui Saito is the game club's mentor and a new friend in their merry company. When Akko was feeling a little better, she went back to school. Talking with Nishimura, she learned something new. He told her that he used to want to join a stronger guild when he was playing alone. But they had one thing in common. They had almost no real life and spent 24 hours a day online. Nishimura didn't really like that, so he didn't join. AKA, on the other hand, liked the idea a lot, especially since she often forgot that she wasn't in the game. Sometimes she even tried to summon the spellbook or inventory at school. Can you imagine that? But in general, this is not uncommon among gamers, especially if you have good friends who are gamers just like you. Our company went back to gaming after the games. On the walk, AKA said again that life is a boring game and she would like to spend more time in Legendary Age. But Nishimura objected and said that real life has ice cream. Delicious and sweet, it would definitely cheer her up. Akko didn't object, and they had a pleasant conversation. The next day, Akko told the guys that she was bombarded with questions in class about her relationship with Nishimura. She wishes she could tell everyone how much she loves him, but she's a loner and doesn't want to socialize with regular girls. Kyoha said that the girls in her class don't even try to talk to her. Akane objected, saying that's why she leads a double life, to socialize with her friends in class and have a good time in the game. But then their conversation was interrupted by the door opening. Who could it be? Droplets of sweat appeared on Akane's face, for it was Nanako Akiyama, her classmate. Who didn't know about Akane's love of gaming? This is the end of my reputation, Akane thought. Now she'll be shunned and unfriended too, since she's an otaku like Nishimura. But Nanako Akiyama is a good friend, and she said she won't tell anyone. Akane calmed down, but decided to take a break from the game. Kyoha was busy with business. In the end, Nishimura and Ako were left alone. Any couple's dream. Rujin and Ako explored the world, walking around and reminiscing about how they met. In Ako's version, she was in danger, and Rujin, in the form of a beautiful knight, saved her, and she immediately fell in love with him. Love at first sight? How romantic. But Rujin's version was different because he was just running by. He saw a nub in the game and decided to help. At first, she couldn't even open her inventory, but after the beginner's course, he gave her a hint. It became easier for her to play. The next day, she followed him around all the time. That's how they became friends. At the moment of their dialogue, a girl appeared and was attacked by monsters. Rujin saved her, which immediately made Ako jealous. Rusian realized that she was a newcomer. Her name was Seta, since she was dressed in basic gear and didn't know how to chat. He gave her a game briefing, they compared game classes, both were melee fighters, he told her the basic techniques, and then they went about their business. The next day, the entire guild gathered in their gaming club. The guys were about to do a new quest, and then Seta appeared. Sound familiar? The guild was very surprised by the appearance of a new player. Schwein offered to help, but Seta tactfully declined, saying that she would be better off with Rujin. The next day, Ako offered to play something else. On the whole, no one objected, and Kyoha suggested playing a military-themed first-person shooter called Ultra Force. The guys ended up having a lot of fun fighting other players, and when Rujin was in danger, he was saved by Ako. She turned out to be an excellent sniper. They ended up playing all night, and in the morning, Ako would think there were enemies around and look at them through her fingers like a rifle scope. It's nothing new. This is Ako. For her, there's no difference between play and reality. Nanako Akiyama walked into the classroom. She said she waited all day yesterday for them in the Age of Legends game, but they never showed up. This statement immediately shocked everyone. They guessed that Nanako Akiyama was Seta, though she didn't hide it. She said that she started playing because she saw the guys having fun, and she wanted to do the same. Seeing Nanako hugging Nishimura, aka cried and ran away, and she lost contact with her. The guys were very worried about her, but there was no contact. Then Nishimura went to visit her. At Aki's house, he was met by a beautiful woman. Now it's clear where such a beautiful AKA came from. After a pleasant conversation, Mrs. Tamaki asked Nishimura to take care of AKA and gave him the keys to her room. Nishimura had high hopes for her. Nishimura went upstairs and surprised AKA with his arrival. He opened the door. Ouch! AKA was not quite ready for his arrival. He urgently closed the door and waited for AKA to get dressed. AKA called out to him again, and they sat down to drink juice. Nishimura was surprised at how organized her room was. There was a refrigerator, a great bed, and most importantly, a powerful computer. Now it was clear why she didn't want to go to school. After all, this place had everything. Together they started playing their favorite game, Age of Legends. Nishimura began to retrain AKU in the game. To make her feel more comfortable, in the evening they met up with their friends. Akane started cursing at them. Where do they disappear to, that they even skip school? But Rujin reassured her that everything was fine. They're just spending time together. And he said he was willing to drop out of school to spend more time with AKA, but at that moment, Ako realized something important. That seeing her friends wasn't just in the game, but at school and at their club. It's not boring. Yes, life is complicated and not easy. But when you have good friends that you found in the game, life gets easier and a lot more fun. Now with a large and friendly group, the boys continued to play. But first, They need to help the newcomer to settle in, together with the new guild member Seta. They began to pass the quest to get a profession in the game. Although it's an easy quest for them, since each of them already has a game profession, it's fun to help the newcomer. Seta went on the quest with her friends and got a fancy outfit and a pet, a wolf cub she named Mutant, just like her real dog. Now Seta would be a summoner by trade, but she's been reminded to learn more information about the game so they can play together more easily. But in addition to playing games, the girl is teaching Akko how to participate in real life. Reading fashion magazines, talking about cosmetics and outfits, how to do makeup, and what's in fashion right now. AKA doesn't like this very much. After all, offline life is difficult for her. But she remembers that she has friends. It's easier with friends. But what is not easy is the upcoming exams. And the boys have completely forgotten about them. It's their first exams at school. It's not going to be easy. So the guild leader decides that online gaming is now banned. Everyone needs to study for the exams right away. But Akko is not interested. In a conversation with Nishimura, she said that she goes to school for the sake of the club and studying is boring. She wants to become a housewife. What a cute girl. But Nishimura is worried about her because he doesn't want her to get expelled. He had to come up with a plan. When he got home, his sister asked him to help her with her homework, and then an idea was born. If Akko doesn't want to study in school, she will study in the game. The boys broke the taboo and gathered in the game, but not to go on quests and kill monsters. Each of them began teaching Akko the subject they knew best. Rujin taught Japanese history. Schwein taught math. Since she was considered the best in that subject, and then their teacher and the head of the gaming club got involved. Nekoheim taught Japanese. Finally, the day of the exam came, and everyone took it as a team. AKA wasn't very happy about it because she was tired and wanted to sleep. Rujin ended up staying with Schwein and Apricot. He wanted to ask them for advice, how to confess love to a girl. But the girls answered that they didn't have a relationship and they don't know how to do it properly. But the most important thing is that it should be in a beautiful place and from the heart. Now that Nishimura and AKA were in the park, Nishimura decided to ask her, would AKA become his girlfriend? But here, an intrigue arose. AKA said no. How could she? What's the wrong turn? She said she loved him, but she refused. But let's not be hasty. Actually, Akko said no because they are husband and wife, which is better than boyfriend and girlfriend. That's how it is. Isn't she right? During their studies, our hero guild had a lot of fun playing together, but now it's time for summer vacation. They have passed their exams perfectly, and that means it's time to rest, including from playing games. Kyoha has organized a summer camp for his guild, and now the guys are going on vacation. The main condition: no games, only fresh air, swimming and sunshine. Aiko is very upset that there will be no games, but it's fun to go somewhere with friends. Kyoha rented a cool cottage. It's a shock. It's the guys' first time in a place like this. It's going to be great. Where will we go first? To the beach, of course. Sunbathing is especially cool, but in order not to get burned, you have to wear the right sunscreen. And of course you have to swim. AKA is bored without playing. But can you have fun without playing an online game? Of course you can. Beach volleyball and other games will keep you entertained. But as it turns out, this trip isn't just for fun, and it's not just for recuperation. Aiko needs it first and foremost. After all, she still has not learned to separate online and offline life. And now, our hero Nishimura has to confess his love in real life for the second time, but in a different way, and the atmosphere is already prepared for it. At the end of the day, Nishimura and AKA sat on the shore and looked into the distance. A warm wind was blowing around them, and the sun was slowly setting. It was a cool atmosphere, wasn't it? But the main surprise was ahead, when it got a little darker. the sky lit up with fireworks. At that moment, Nishimura confessed that he loved and cherished AKA, and Ako reciprocated and said, "I love you too, Rujin. It's all good, isn't it? A happy ending." But no. Everyone realized that AKA still doesn't know the difference between Nishimura, a high school student from her school, and Rujin, a character from the game, and thinks they're one and the same, love. But the boys had a plan B. After that, they arrived at another cottage, even better than the old one. It's a palace, but the main difference is that it's like their legendary age game, and if you buy something, you get a coupon that you can use in the game and get a cool item. What's up, our sweet couple? They're alone, and it's time for some romance. The moment they tuned in to communicate. For a second, Rujin stepped out of the game, but Ako didn't notice and continued to communicate. Nishimura realized his account had been stolen. He rushed to Ako, but it turned out that Ako was in tears in her room. She didn't realize that it wasn't Rujin anymore, but later she realized it wasn't Rujin because the cocky guy started writing nasty things. Ako apologized to Nishimura. But Nishimura said, "Why are you apologizing? It's not your fault." The guys came running. They were shocked. It's a shame to lose an account you've spent years building up. Levels and rare items were gone. Everyone agreed that we need to fix this problem immediately. Everyone started taking an active role. The character Rujin was deleted for violating the game community. But our friends decided not to turn a blind eye to this problem. First, we need to find the items from Rujin's account, find out who hacked his account. He began to help the coolest guild in the game, which Rujin previously wanted to join but could not, because he is not ready to play around the clock. It's also about a guild of Nekoheim fans. In the end, they came up with a trafficker of stolen goods, but it was impossible to prove to the game administration that it was he who stole the account. They also found a ring belonging to Rujin with the name Ako on it. But to get the account back, we need to find the thief, and our friendly guild had an idea. They worked hard for 3 days straight. If it weren't for Ako, Nishimura might have starved to death. By the way, Ako is an excellent cook. When everything was ready, the hunt began. The essence of the plan was to attract a thief who agreed to exchange items for real money. And that's not allowed in Age of Legends. It is necessary to show the administration of the game direct evidence and that they immediately identify the player by IP address. So the plan worked. The administration stepped in, blocked the thief, and gave Nishimura his old account back. Now Rujin is alive in the game again. But there's another problem. Since the account was restored, he is now single again. Ako was very upset by this, but Nishimura reassured her. He said that it's not like he disappeared, and they'll get married again. That's our Ako. A sweet and sincere girl. That's why she's the star of this anime. When will our Ako be able to distinguish reality from play? That's a difficult question. Since she's a shy and modest girl, she doesn't want to think too much, both in life and in the game. She doesn't want to worry about it, so she combines everything. But one should know the difference between game and life. But a huge plus point for her. She is sincere in her feelings, sincere in her love for the Rujin character, but she actually loves Nishimura just as much. Yes, this comes as a surprise to many, but our AKA remains herself, and most importantly, the person she loves and her friends continue to support her.